to learn chapter 12, that is biotechnology and its applications. So write down biotechnology and its applications. Dear students, in our earlier chapter, we have seen that what is biotechnology. I hope all of you are aware that what is biotechnology. Biotechnology means you are using any living organisms. By using a living organisms in the form of either organisms or in the form of enzymes, you are getting a product. And that product will be beneficial to the human beings. So it will be useful to human beings. So this is a simple definition of biotechnology. But in this chapter, that is the chapter 12, we will see how the biotechnology will help us in different fields. There are different fields among like medicines, agriculture, right? So how we are using this biotechnology in different fields. As you all know, dear students, that biotechnology is an advanced technology. In earlier technology, there was no biotechnology. Yes, but in the olden stage like fermentation, like making curd from the milk, all these processes were there. But now, what we are doing? We are doing the gene manipulation. And we are changing that product to such a good quality that people can get it at a cheap rate and it will be beneficial to the humans. So main concern is its application. Already we have learned about what is biotechnology, its processes and its principles. Already we have learned the tools regarding the biotechnology. How the restriction enzymes are working, how we are getting the DNA, what are the vectors, what are the plasmids, what is agar bacterial tumefacial. So after learning this biotechnology, we have to simply apply this to the applications. So first of all, I just want to tell you that the biotechnology, among the biotechnology, in earlier chapter we have learned about bioreactors. I hope you are remembering that topic, bioreactors. So in bioreactors, we know that at an industrial scale, how you can get a biopharmaceuticals things or why you can get the biological products. So getting a biopharmaceuticals and biological products with the help of any plants, any fungi or any microorganisms, you are using this biotechnology. So first of all, we can say that by getting biopharmaceuticals, okay, and for getting a biological products with the help of organisms. They may be microorganisms, they may be plants, they may be animals, or they may be fungus. Okay. So we are having a different living organism. As we all know, the biodiversity, we have diverse forms of organisms. So we can use those organisms to get a good product. Okay. So let us learn that what are the different applications are being used in the biotechnology. So first of all, we will write some of the points how the applications are being used in today's life. First of all, just simply I am giving the names. Therapeutics drugs. Now what is therapeutics drugs? Therapeutics drugs we get from the biotechnology means to healing the disease. अगर कोई disease हो गई बेटा उसको heal करना है तो you need therapeutics drugs. You can get this. Second thing is diagnostic. What is diagnostic word means? It means that you can get any sign or symptoms of any disease. You can evaluate. कोई disease हुई है, but if you sign and symptoms, if you want to evaluate, you have to use biotechnology. So for diagnosing something, therapeutics means healing of disease. Okay. Third thing, genetically modified crop. This is a very important thing which we can get from the biotechnology and which will be useful in different fields like agriculture. So we can write it here, genetically modified organism, or you can say crop. You can get plants also, you can get animal products also. Fourth thing, you can also use to get a processed food. Nowadays you are eating cheese also, you are eating some figs, or you are eating some kind of pickles and everything, different products which are frozen. Like in McDonald's you are eating cheese, or McDonald's cheese chips are there, like potato chips. So they all things are frozen. So it is for processed products, or you can say food. Fifth, you can use for treatment of the waste thing, like waste water is there, sewage water is there. So for waste treatment you can also use this, right? Sixth thing, for bioremediation. This is a new word, students. Bioremediation, remedy. Okay, bioremediation means cleaning our environment. Nowadays you all are aware that we are facing a lot of problem due to the global warming. So to clean the environment, that is a cleaning the environment. Okay, that is bioremediation. So these are different topics or different fields in which we are using a biotechnology. So already you have learned therapeutics, diagnostic, genetically modified organism, processed food, waste treatment, then bioremediation. So these are different topics we are going to learn in this chapter. I hope you have learned. This is just the introduction regarding the biotechnology and its principle. Hello students, after talking about the introduction regarding the applications, let us talk three critical areas which help us, three critical research areas for biotechnology. So what are the three main critical areas which will be beneficial to us to carry out the biotechnology and to get those applications? So first thing what we need, that is to provide a best catalyst. We required to provide best catalyst. Now what is catalyst? I hope all of you are knowing catalyst means enzyme, which can either increase the reaction or which can either decrease the reaction. So catalyst may be organisms in the form of organism, you can say, or it can be in the form of enzyme. So first thing we required, that is to provide a best catalyst. Second thing, that is the optimum condition or optimal condition in which this particular catalyst works. So we can say optimal condition for enzyme, or you can say selected catalyst. And the third thing which is most important, that is the downstreaming process. In our earlier lecture, I have already explained you about the upstreaming and the downstreaming. So the third point is downstreaming process, which leads to the purification of proteins. So by downstreaming process, what we are doing? We are purifying the proteins or enzymes, or you can, in another form, you can say organic compound. So please write down this: provide best catalyst, optimal condition, and downstreaming processes. So these are the three critical research areas. Now I will give you the summary of the entire chapter. In that summary, we will go one by one. Okay. So let us say applications of biotechnology. You have to just write down this topic. and how this whole chapter can be summarized into a table form. This is a very easy method that you can remember this entire chapter in your mind. Okay. So application of biotechnology, you can divide into different types. Before going into this, just remember red, green and white. Three types: red biotechnology, green biotechnology and white biotechnology. Now what is a red biotechnology? Red biotechnology is related with medical biotechnology. The green biotechnology related with the agricultural biotechnology. And the third thing, that is the white biotechnology related with the industries for industrial purpose. So industrial biotechnology. So we have mainly three types of biotechnology in our modern life. So based on that, how we learn about the applications. So first thing, biotechnology in agriculture field. You can write agriculture. We will learn all this topic in detail. In agriculture, what we will learn, beta? We will learn genetically modified organism. But is it concerned with the organism? Here we have written agriculture. So we can also say the genetically modified plants. And those genetically modified plants are known as transgenic plants. So here you can talk about the transgenic plants, and you can later on discuss the transgenic animals. Transgenic plants and transgenic animals. Now, in the transgenic plants or in the genetically modified plants, we will talk about the different topics. Like, I will write here, we will learn about the BT cotton. We will learn about the pest resistant plant. I will give you different types of examples for pest resistant plant and BT cotton. How we can manipulate the gene and how we can get a new plants and new products. Okay, so we will learn about this agriculture, related agriculture. The second thing we are going to learn, that is medicine. Second thing will be medicines. Now in medicines, we will learn about the genetically engineered insulin. Second thing, we will learn about the ADA deficiency, or you can say we will learn about the gene therapy. Okay, ADA deficiency and gene therapy. So among the gene therapy, one topic we will learn, that is ADA deficiency. Another thing which we are going to learn, that is the hybridoma technology. That is also known as monoclonal bodies, monoclonal antibodies, which will increase your immune power. Okay, so that this is the another topic we are going to learn in the medicines. Then the third thing, that is molecular diagnosis. Molecular diagnosis. So in molecular diagnosis, we will see PCR is there, right? ELISA test is there. So how we can diagnose? Pathophysiological symptoms are there. So how we'll diagnose it? So these are the topics inside the medicines. And the last topic will be related with the ethical issues. What are the ethical issues regarding the biotechnology and its application? So in the ethical issues, I am explaining you this ethical issues. Here I am writing this here, ethical issue. So So after writing all these points, this third point, this is the second, this is the third. Ethical issues I am writing this side. So this is the third point, ethical issues, in which we will discuss about different points. That is, first thing is biopiracy, biowar, and biopatent. So there's three things we are going to learn in the ethical issues. So dear students, I have summarized the entire chapter into three main parts. Let us see agriculture. So in agriculture, genetically modified plants and their usefulness we will see. We will learn about transgenic plants. Inside the transgenic plants, here I have added another topic also, that is transgenic animals. Same like transgenic plants, we can have transgenic animals which will be beneficial. Then we will learn BT cotton and pest resistant plant. Then in case of medicines, we will learn about how to get a genetically engineered insulin, how to get the ADA deficiency, how to cure it, and what is hybridomer technology or monoclonal antibodies, how they will be made, and molecular diagnosis. After all this thing, the last point is ethical issues, and that point I have right here. Just write down ethical issues are biopiracy, biowar, and biopatent. So this is just the summary of the entire chapter. One by one, first we will learn about the agriculture, then in medical field, and at last we will discuss about the ethical issues. Let us start the biotechnology in agriculture. So how the biotechnology will help its application in agriculture field. In agriculture. So the first point is how we can increase the production of crop, or you can say yield in agriculture field. So we can have different ways to increase the production. The first thing is you can use chemicals, right? So you can use agrochemical based agriculture, right? Second thing, if you don't want to go for this way, you can apply another way. That is, you can perform organic based agriculture. Okay. And the third thing, if you don't want to go to these two ways, you can have the third one, that is genetically modified crop based agriculture. So dear students, we have three possibilities. Either you can use chemical. Third thing, you can do organic farming or organic crop. And the third thing you can see, that is the genetically modified crop based agriculture. So let us learn some detail regarding the agriculture. So students, I hope you have learned about the Green Revolution. So Green Revolution has been taken place mainly in India. If you see, why? What is the purpose of Green Revolution? Green Revolution was there because to increase the production of crop and the different varieties related with those crops. So what happened? That to increase, to triple the production, so the tripling of production, what the farmers has done? Farmer has used pesticides, means they have used chemicals, they have used fertilizers, right? So at that time, the agriculture was based on chemicals, or you can say pesticides or insecticides. So what are pesticides, insecticides? These are the chemicals which are used to kill the pests which are found in the crop. So to save the life of the plant and to increase the yield, what the farmers were doing? They were just using those chemicals. So earlier the agriculture was chemical based, but what happened? That this also was not sufficient. They have increased the yield, no doubt. The varieties has also increased, but due to the increasing population, as you all know, nowadays India is tremendously increasing in population. So as the human population is increasing nowadays, what is happening? The requirement, the need, the food is also need to be increased. But agrochemical based agriculture is not sufficient to fulfill the needs of the human population, right? So they are searching some other option, right? Now they are saying that this will decrease the fertility. By using the chemical, it will decrease the fertility of the soil. Then it comes to the organic farming. The farmers started doing organic farming, but that is too costly, right? So organic farming is also not possible. Why? Because in organic farming also it is not cheap, it is very costly. These fertilizers are very costly, the chemicals are costly. So farmers are not able to buy those costly fertilizers, chemicals, and perform the organic farming on this agrochemical based agriculture. So how we fulfill all these things? So government is thinking, the agriculture universities, the agriculture research field, all were searching a new field, a new hope which can be act as a boom to the green revolution or to the bloom to the agriculture field. Now, what we will do? How we can get another option? So here I want to say one thing, that the conventional breeding is not sufficient to provide or to give the requirement or fulfill the requirements of the farmers or human population. So conventional, you can write this point here, conventional breeding is not sufficient, is not sufficient. Now you will ask me, ma'am, what is conventional breeding? Conventional breeding means whatever the farmers, they are using the normal techniques, their basic techniques, either by putting some chemicals or either by using some organic farming. The basic things or basic techniques they are applying for the agriculture field. That is a conventional breeding. But as the population is increasing, the conventional breeding is not sufficient to provide the crops or to provide the yield. So, what will be the another option? So, as a bloom, as a, you can say, change in our technology, the important technology came, that is the biotechnology. Here the biotechnology works. So what did farmer do, or what does the researchers do? They start using biotechnology in the field of agriculture, right? So you know how we have green revolution, but still we are not able to fulfill the demands of the people. Then comes the biotechnology. So let us see the role of biotechnology, how you can increase the yield of the crop. Okay, so what is the genetically modified plants and how it will be beneficial, useful to the people or farmer. So let us see that topic. So let us start the biotechnology in agriculture. So first thing was the genetically modified organism. or you can say genetically modified plant. This came into existence. Now, what is genetically modified plants and genetically modified organisms? Those organisms, for example, you can take bacteria, or you can take any microorganisms, you can take plants, you can take animals, or you can take fungus. So by using this living organisms, what you are doing, beta, you are just manipulating the gene, or you can say gene is ultimately DNA. So you are manipulating the gene and DNA to get a genetically modified plant or genetically modified organism or genetically modified animals. So ultimately what you are doing, you are just manipulating the DNA. You are exchanging the DNA. You are putting the foreign gene into that particular organisms and you are getting those biotechnology products which will be beneficial to you. So, genetically modified organisms or genetically modified plants, if the manipulation is done in plant, then it is known as genetically modified plants. And those plants are also known as transgenic plants. So, transgenic plant means those plants in which the manipulating of the gene has been done. You are removing the gene or you are inserting a gene. And you are performing as an insecticides or as a pesticides so that your yield can increase. So, here the genetically modified organisms or transgenic plants are very beneficial in the field of agriculture. So, how it will be beneficial? So, let us see some points that how the genetically modified plants will be beneficial or useful. So, these are some points which you can remember how it can be useful. First of all, if you are growing a plant as a genetically modified plant, first thing you will improve the resistant power of the plant. So, you can say that the plant will be having a resistant power, resistance towards the pest. One thing. The second thing, it has a power to fight against, or it will be resistant towards the abiotic stress. So plant can be resistant towards the abiotic stress. Now let us say what are abiotic stress. You can say heat is there, right? Or you can say salt is there, temperature is there. So there are different factors, abiotic factors we have learned in our earlier chapter, right? So you know the heat, salt, temperature. So all these are the abiotic factors. So they can resistant towards means they can fight against those stress conditions. Third thing, so you can improve the post-harvest loss, right? When farmer used to put some plant or they would germinate, at that time they have to face lot of problems. So by biotechnology or by using the genetically modified plants, what you will do, you will just improve or you will just prevent the loss of post-harvest. So you can prevent the loss of post-harvest, or you can also write post-harvest loss you can prevent. Okay. So the fourth thing, the availability of the minerals. Like if you are growing the plant as a genetically modified plant, it will improve the efficiency towards the minerals. So the efficiency of minerals will be increased in the earlier stages of the plants. Okay. Fifth thing we can say at last, that is to improve the nutritional value. Ultimately, we are taking a food or we are taking a plant just because to get a good vitamins, good minerals, right? So, to increase or to improve the nutritional value, we are using a genetically modified plants. Now, I will give you some important examples regarding the genetically modified plants. How you can increase the nutritional value. So, for that, I will give you the some important examples regarding the genetically modified plants. Let us see some examples of genetically modified plants and how it will be beneficial to us or farmers or in agriculture field. So, the first example is golden rice. Please don't go by the name. Golden doesn't mean that gold rice. Okay. Golden rice is given to the simple species that is Oryza sativa. Oryza sativa is the botanical name of rice. So what, according to the genetically modified plants, some changes has been done in this rice variety. So this golden rice have been formed by inserting a gene which is responsible for beta carotene. So the beta carotene gene has been inserted into this rice and the nutritional value has been increased. Like this beta carotene will increase the provitamin, that is, you can say vitamin A. So by increasing the vitamin A in the rice, how? By using a biotechnology. So this is a one example, golden rice. Many times it has been asked in the examination also. So what is a golden rice or what content or what proteins is present in the golden rice. Okay. Now one interesting thing I want to tell you, that is the tobacco. Tobacco. So what is the botanical name of tobacco?
Nicotine.
Yes. Solanum, as you know that Solanaceae is the family. So in case of tobacco, it's Nicotiana tobacco. So Nicotiana tobacco, it's the botanical name of tobacco. Just write it down that tobacco is the first transgenic plant. So first transgenic plant is tobacco. But here you have to write another point. That is the third point. That the first plant is tobacco, but the plant which just came into the market was not tobacco, was tomato. So the first transgenic plant which came into market, that was tomato. So I am writing here about the tomato. So our third point continue here. Tomato. The name of the tomato was flower sour. So the flavor and savour tomato. This was the name of the tomato. Why it's known as flavor savour tomato? Why it's a genetically modified plant? Here, what they have done, they were the simple tomato. Suppose let us say this is a tomato, right? So what they have done, beta, they have inserted one gene. One gene is responsible for one enzyme. That is polygalacturonase, polyglucuronase enzyme. So this enzyme is responsible for, here I will write in gene, responsible for polyglucuronase enzyme. Now what they have done, they have inactivated this gene. which is responsible for polyglucosurinase enzyme. So they have inactivate this gene in tomato. By during inactivation, what is happening? This polyglucosurinase enzyme was responsible for degradation of cell wall. So to protect from over-ripening, what they have done, they have inactivated this gene which was responsible for polyglucosurinase. So due to inactivation of this gene, this enzyme cannot produce. If this enzyme cannot produce, then over-ripening, they can prevent from over-ripening. They can store this tomato for longer duration. So to prevent from over-ripening, what they have done? They have just inactivated the gene responsible for the enzyme, that is polyglucosurinase enzyme. So this is just an example, that is flavored stubble tomatoes. Like this, there are lots of plants which are being genetically modified plants, right? In those plants, you can, I am writing the list of this plant. You can have rice, you can have soybean, you can use cotton, you can use tomato, you can use tobacco. So these are corn. These are the list of the plant which are genetically modified plants. So how they can be genetically modified, that we will see now onwards, that how these plants can be genetically modified. Let us talk about the genetically modified plant. So to get the genetically modified plant, we need organisms. So one organism was very popular in getting a genetically modified plant, and that is Bacillus thuringiensis. Bacillus is the genus, and thuringiensis is a species. So you can say this is a genus and this is a species. So this is a name of the microorganism. I am just writing in the bracket microorganism. Or you can write down bacteria. Bacillus is the shape of the bacteria. Okay, so Bacillus thuringiensis. So this bacteria was so popular to get a genetically modified plant. So this bacteria was known by one name, and that is Bt. So Bt is the symbol which represents this bacteria. So many times this question has been asked in examination. What is Bt? Bt is a bacteria. So this Bacillus thuringiensis and its different strains, means its variety and species, help us to protect the crop and to increase the yield. So nowadays what we are using this organism, that is Bacillus thuringiensis. Now there will be some question in your mind, ma'am, how this organism will help us to increase the yield? So this is a genuine question we will ask. So this bacteria will give us gene, and that gene will provide us one toxic protein. So toxic protein will be provided by this Bacillus thuringiensis. So this bacteria has a gene which is giving a toxin, which is responsible for the toxic proteins. And this toxic proteins will kill the insects or different pests. So you can say by using this bacteria, you can get insecticidal pest. So this is one kind of option that will help you to act as an insecticidal pest. So you don't have to put some kind of pesticides or insecticides. But this will form an insecticidal pest. So this protein will help. This protein will act as an insecticidal pest. Right? It will kill the insect. It will kill the pest. So there are different plants, as I've already told you earlier. You can say BT cotton, BT corn, BT brinda, or you can say BT brinjal. Right? So there are different varieties, different species. I already told you that tomato is the first transgenic plant which was in the market. But the permission, the first genetic modified plants, actually it's tomato. But the permission was given to the brinjal. Brinjal was the first genetically modified plant which has been given a permission so that they can sell in the market. Tomato was first, but brinjal has also, that was a crop which is given the permission also. So brinjal are also genetically modified plants nowadays. So what nowadays that you have heard from some farmer like BT cotton, BT maize, right? BT corn, BT soya bean. So these are the different plant species which you can get from this Bacillus thuringiensis. You are just inserting the gene from this organism, so you don't have to put insecticides or you don't have to put pesticides, and the yield of that plant will get increased. So let us talk about one example which is related with this Bacillus thuringiensis, and that topic is BT cotton. I hope all of you are aware of cotton plant. BT cotton. So cotton is the, you can say, you can write down the botanical name of the cotton, that is Gossypium hirsutum. This is the botanical name of cotton. So the farmer were tired because there were different types of worms, different type of flies, mosquitoes, beetles, which cause damage to the crop. So farmer were totally tired. During that time, the biotechnology came. So the BT cotton, with the help of BT is Bacillus thuringiensis. So this Bacillus thuringiensis provide a certain protein, that are the toxic protein, which kills certain insects, or you can say pest group. Let us say, like you can say Lepidopteron. Lepidopteron. This comprises of certain worms, like you can say budworm, armyworm. Right? This is a group, order, or you can say group. Then another group is Coleopteron. This Coleopteron consisted of beetles. I hope you have seen different type of beetles like green beetles, red beetles during the monsoon. So different types of beetles. They are like the insects. Another group is there. Let us say A, B and C. Another group is dipterans. In your 11th class, during the first chapter Living World, you might have heard about the order dipterans. Yes. So dipterans comprises or considering flies, or you can say mosquitoes.
Mosca domestica.
Okay. So Lepidopterons, Coleopterons, dipterans, these are some group of insects or pests. So these are doing damage to the plant or to the crop. So to protect from this, what we have done, I am just explaining you one example, that is of cotton. Now how this BT, Bacillus thuringiensis gene, will help us to protect from this type of insects. So let us talk about the different types of proteins which is to kill those insects. Okay. So from the organism, that is bacteria. Okay. Let us say this is a Bacillus thuringiensis bacteria. From this we are getting a gene which will give us one protein, and that is the toxic proteins. These proteins are known as crystal protein. They are crystalline protein or crystal protein. Now, how we can make a plant, a cotton plant, as a genetically modified plant? What you will do, you will just insert this gene into the, suppose this is a cotton plant. Let us say this is a cotton plant. So if you are inserting this gene, insert into a cotton plant, what will happen? Slowly some bollworm, let us say cotton, so cotton has a bollworm. It is like a worm, a thick worm will come, green color worm. So that worm, suppose this is the worm. Okay, this worm is coming to eat this leaf. So as this protein, the toxic crystal protein, this is inactivated. It's not activated. You might have one question here, students, that, ma'am, if this protein is present in the bacteria, will this bacteria will die? No, the bacteria will not die. Why? The answer is here, because the toxic protein is in inactive stage. That's why that bacteria is alive. What we are doing, we are just inserting this gene into the cotton plant. The cotton plant is happily smiling. Why? Because when this bollworm or any worm, when coming to eat this plant, what will happen? This toxin protein will go inside the gut of that worm. Now what will happen? If this gene is going in the gut of this worm, slowly it enters to the gut. It will go to the epithelial cell, and there the pH will be alkaline. So the pH will be alkaline pH. Now what will happen? Now this protein gets activated. Here the protein will get activated. So our crystal protein, protoxin protein. This is protoxin. Protoxin. But now this protein will become toxic. Now this protein, what it will do? It will create, it will harm that epithelial cell. And it will create a pores in the body of that worm. And slowly it will kill that worm. Or you can say insect. If one worm is coming, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the worms get died. Why? Because when they are eating this plant, that protein going inside their body more, and in the body when they are reaching to the gut, their stomach, at that place, due to the alkaline pH, the protoxin, it will activate it into a toxin. And that crystalline protein will create a pores in the body, and that will kill the worms. So this is how the farmer don't have to add insecticides. Already we have inserted this gene into the cotton plant. Right? So always remember, dear students, that this crystal protein is represented by cry. Cry. You don't have to write crystal protein, you can write cry. Okay? So cry is a symbol, it's a name given to the crystal protein. But those protein which we are getting from the Bacillus thuringiensis means they are Bt toxins. These Bt toxins are responsible for insects. So this Bt toxin are mainly responsible to kill the insect or pest group. Mainly they are considered. So we can say the different cryoproteins. For examples, let us say cryprotein, that is the crystal protein. So we can say cry1 AC and cry2 AB. So these are the proteins which are responsible for cotton border. Here cotton border, like bollworms. For example, bollworm. So they will create some pore-like structure, and for that this crystal proteins are important. Another thing, that is cry1 AB. This protein will be responsible for corn border. So this is how we can say that different proteins or crystal proteins or toxin proteins we are getting from the Bacillus organisms. So now let us learn some other examples regarding the pest resistant plant. Pest resistant plant. I hope you all remember the first transgenic plants in the world was
Tobacco, yes.
Solanum. You can say
Nicotiana. Tobacco.
Potato also we can get, that is Solanum tuberosum.
Tuberosum.
But now we'll see the example, that is of tobacco plant. Let us say this is a root of tobacco plant and this is the plant. These are the leaf. So how we can get a genetically modified plant of a tobacco? So let us say that there is one nematode. There is one species of nematode which will be present in the root. This root, nematode is present. Now what is nematode? It's a kind of worm or it's a parasite. So this is a parasite. So it will create one communication, that is parasitism. Okay. So nematode is a parasite. So that is a example is Melectona, Ingonetia. This is the species of nematode which will present in the root. Now what will that particular nematode will do? Right? This will damage the crop and ultimately the slow or less yield of this plant. So we don't get a sufficient yield from the tobacco plant. Why? Because inside the root there is one nematode, that is a Melectona ingoneata. Now this nematode is not only present in the plants but it also affects plants, animals and other organisms. So this nematode, it will harm other plants and animals. So it was a big challenge in the field of research that how we can make genetically modified plant of tobacco. But during that period, the researchers have one strategy, right? And that strategy worked out to save the plant of the tobacco. And that strategy which come into existence, that was a technique, RNA interference. So RNA interference was a new strategy which helps in the field of genetic modified plants, in field of biotechnology. So this RNA technology was for a cellular defense. This is a mechanism to do the cellular defense. How we can protect that plant from the damage caused by this nematode. So we have one strategy. So this was the best strategy for cellular defense. Another thing, this strategy can apply to all the eukaryotic. I hope you know what is the difference between the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. As earlier I have talked about the genes we are getting, that Bacillus thuringiensis is a prokaryotic, right? But this nematode is eukaryotic. This plant is eukaryotic. So this RNA interference is a strategy which helps us to do the cellular defense. And the second thing you have to remember that it can be applied to all the eukaryotic organism. You can write it here, all eukaryotic organisms. So let us see in detail what is the RNA interference, right? So let us talk about the RNA interference in tobacco plant. So RNA interference, as I have already told you, that it's a strategy that works as a cellular defense. And second thing, it applies to all the eukaryotic organisms. Now what is this RNA interference? Interference means you are interrupting something. That is a RNA interference. So here what we have to do, with the help of complementary double-stranded RNA, we have to do the silencing of the mRNA. In genetics, I hope you know the mRNA. mRNA is a messenger. As already you have learned earlier that there is a transfer RNA, RNA, mRNA. So mRNA will have some kind of code which are responsible to make proteins. They are the messengers. They will take the message. They will take some few code, and we have to silence that mRNA. If you are going to silence that mRNA of that nematode will not survive in that plant, and ultimately that nematode will die. So what we are going to do? We have to make some complementary double-stranded RNA. Now how will make it? How will make those complementary double-stranded RNA? For that, what you have to use? You have to use two things. One, you have to use a source. And second thing, you have to use a vector. I hope you have learned in the biotechnology. We need some source, like it may be some organisms, or they may be a virus, right? And we need a vector. Vector may be bacteriophage or maybe a plasmid. So here what we will do, beta, the source. So here the source will be any virus. You can take any virus. This virus will act, this virus will have those kind of RNA genome, or you can have a genomic material. They have a genomic material. And this will be act as transposons. They are known as transposons or genetically mobile element. You can also call it as a genetic mobile element, which you will get from that virus. Okay. So that genomic RNA or genomic content you are getting from the virus. This is our source. So we have this thing, and what it will do? This RNA will go inside, and it will be the complementary to the another messenger RNA present in the plant. So let us talk about the vector. What will be the vector? As I have already explained you about the vector in the earlier chapter, that is biotechnology. So there was one example, that is Agarobacterium tumefacium. I hope you have heard about the Agarobacterium tumefacium. This will act as a vector. So Agarobacterium tumefacium is a vector which is used in the RNA interference. This will help to do the silencing of the mRNA. Now, let us see further. This agarobacterium tumefacium will provide a complementary RNA. So here what is happening? If you are considering a normal messenger RNA, suppose say we have a normal messenger RNA, mRNA. This normal messenger RNA will have a code. Okay, they will have a code to make a protein, and that template is known as a sense. You call it that mRNA as a sense. But what we are doing? We are putting one mRNA or one RNA strand along with this. Already sense normal messenger RNA is there. But what we are doing? We are inserting another RNA. Right? So that another RNA will act as a antisense. Now why it's antisense? Because this will not code for that protein. So this will act as the antisense. So antisense don't have that code to make that particular proteins which is responsible for the enzymes. So here what is happening? That simple mRNA and another RNA which we are putting inside with the help of the vector. As we know that agarobacterium tumefacium, it works for dicot plants. Just remember, it doesn't work for the monocot plant. Agarobacterium tumefacium will create a Ti plasmid in the dicot plants. So our plant, that is tobacco plant. That is a dicot plant. So here we are using a vector, we are putting a strand of RNA inside, but that is a antisense. Now dear students, what will happen? The normal mRNA which are coding for that protein, we are inserting one another RNA. So now the aniline, what is aniline? Aniline means joining. So that sense and antisense both will come together, but this will not code for that particular protein which the nematode is making. So now what is happening? The mixing of the RNA, that is double-stranded RNA, is being created in the plant. And this double-stranded RNA which is being creating, that is the complementary double-stranded RNA, which is there for silencing that original mRNA. So our original mRNA which is responsible to make the proteins will be silenced, will be stopped. So we are inserting an antisense. So what will make sense and antisense combine together? But now the protein won't be formed. So if the protein is not forming, what will happen? That nematode which is present here in the roots, let us say this is the roots. If the nematode is present here, what will happen? Now that plant will be saved, because they won't damage the plants, because nematode will ultimately die. So this is how we can say that RNA interference, how it works. It works by a complementary double-stranded RNA. The sense and antisense part combine together, anneal together, join together, but it won't coat the protein. So as the protein is not forming, the nematode ultimately will die. They won't get that enzyme which is responsible for to survive. Ultimately the nematode die and we get a tobacco plant. And that is an example of the pest resistant